What are some things you didn't realize about people until your perspective on life matured? Advice is amazing. Advice is helpful. Advice can be life-changing. But more often than not, people have to figure things out for themselves. It's really easy to make people smile if you treat them with a brand of kindness they appreciate. Some people like simple manners, punctuality, a firm handshake, and a please and thank you. It lets them know you care, and it's always nice to know people care about you. Others prefer to be appreciated. They might show you things they've done. That's when you strike. They'll be expecting a casual, nice job or that's pretty cool, but you're gonna hit them with, that's great. How did you do X like that, with an enthusiastic tone because they did a great job and you want them to feel as great about it as you know they deserve to feel. Or perhaps you'll stumble upon it, in which case the aforementioned strategy is amplified because they won't even be expecting the praise. Some people feel most comfortable and at peace with soft conversation. Just talking, nothing heavy. It's like small talk. Except you want to keep talking, filling the air with kind words and listening to their best voice, their passionate voice. There are those that just need a hug. It seems simple, and that's because it is. Sometimes that's the best gift you can give. Never underestimate it. Even a smile can get someone to smile. However, any kindness is better than none. Sometimes I give a thumbs up and a smile to people on the side of the road when I'm driving. Every smile I see is a gift I'll cherish for as long as I remember. Take care. How people treat you is a reflection on them, not you. I wish I had learned this sooner. I wouldn't have taken things so personally. It's hard to make the distinction when it's so personal. That's such good advice, and likewise wish I could have learned it sooner. I thought people got old and then they got sick. When my dad got cancer in his 50s, I learned the actual order is that people get sick and then they get old, right before your eyes. When my granddad, aged 70, got cancer, it was crazy how quick he went downhill. Fine one day, dead 3 weeks later. He was housebound, could barely talk. It was actually kinda scary. Why my mom never wanted to do anything after she got off work. I'm 25, just started my first real job 2 weeks ago, and by the time 4 o'clock hits, I'm like, frick this crap, when do I get to go back to sleep? Just wait until you get to the oh holy frick, half a year just went by phase of the in-out work grind. My mom doesn't have all the answers. She put on a good game face growing up, but every year I realize more and more she has no freaking clue more than anybody else does. I recently had the epiphany that you're just a mere human and you can't fix all my problems. That no one actually really cares about you, except maybe for your closest friends and family who truly love you. I think it's a pretty good thing because it means we don't need to worry as much as we do. No one notices the things we're insecure about, and even if they do, they probably don't care. Realizing this was like breathing fresh air for the first time. I used to just freeze around people all the time because I felt so insecure and judged. I've learned now that being exactly what I am will only attract the type of people I want to be around, and frick the rest. I'll dance in public if I want to, even if I'm terrible. I'll laugh at myself and I only care about who's laughing with me. That everyone else has their own big issues to deal with, despite how confident and happy they look. It has helped me to feel more connected to other people who are also going through this human experience. I'm not alone in my learning. Exactly, everyone is struggling on one way or another. Mental illness is everywhere. It doesn't take much to completely uproot someone's life and have them go from successful, put together adult to homeless and destitute. Most people are as unsure of themselves as you are. If you act confident, calm, and collected, you immediately give yourself an advantage in almost any situation. And that's called bluffing. It does work, but don't abuse it. If you think someone else knows something better than you, even though they might not realize it, let them speak. Take initiative. Avoids lots of stupid mistakes. Life is hard for everyone. Being respectful and pleasant in your everyday interactions with people leaves a bright spot in their day and makes you a happier person, too. This is so true. I recently had a painful loss, and I remember walking up to the counter at stores, gas stations, etc. thinking, please just be nice to me. I feel so fragile right now. That helped me realize we don't know what someone else is carrying around. The older you get, the less you will have a tolerance for balls from your friends. Those flaky but fun friends you might hang with at 22 are not going to be interesting to you when you are older and have your crap together when they don't. Older person here. It is really interesting how your friends change. Some move away from you, some move closer. When I was a kid, I used to get upset whenever my dad and I would watch a movie together, because he would always fall asleep. I didn't see the point in us going through the trouble of going to the video rental store, spending like half an hour trying to pick out a couple of movies, and then him snoring away 5 minutes into the movie. It made me feel like maybe he didn't actually like my taste in movies or even hanging out with me since he couldn't stay awake. Now that I'm older, I've realized that the reason why he would fall asleep was because he was so tired from working 2 jobs to try and give me the best life he possibly could. He loved me so much that he made an effort to try and spend time with me during his time off of work and have this little video store tradition with me. This is really sweet. It probably meant so much to him just to be able to spend that time with you, looking at movies with you, figuring out which one would be best, watching you excited about a film, putting thought and consideration into it. I imagine that 30 or so minutes in the store was worth a lot. The inverse perspective is usually valid. Many folks think that people who disagree with them are motivated by animus or suffering from some glaring character flaw or other. Probably not. Probably they're perfectly rational people who have reasoned their way to a different conclusion based on a different set of precepts. Life is complex. You probably don't understand it. If you did, you'd be the first, and therefore no one else would understand you. So what would be the point? You can disagree stridently with others, and at times you should, but it is a trap of lazy thinking to presume that those with whom you disagree are not themselves sound both of mind and of heart. If we dismiss one another so capriciously, we rob ourselves of the opportunity to learn and grow from new ideas. When I would take my nieces out when they were younger, I would say hi to people that we would pass by. They thought it was funny I said hi to everyone. I explained to them that we might be the only people to say hi to them in a day. Not everyone has some at home to say good morning to them. After that, my nieces would say hi to everyone we walked by. I wish I had learned that when I was their age. That's an awesome lesson. It goes along with something I heard on Russell Brand's YouTube. He was suggesting that we usually look at interactions in terms of what we might gain: a new job, a hookup, or even just social approval, and that we could instead look at them in terms of what we can give. Try not to judge people too harshly. You never know what they're going through at that particular moment. When people act out of character, it is likely that they are going through something and just don't want to talk about it or are dealing with it by lashing out. Totally agree with you. But on the flip side, you going through some crap doesn't give you a free pass to be a crappy person to everyone around you. As has been said in this thread, everyone is going through some crap. So when you're lashing out because of your problems, the people around you are also going through problems. That they're not equipped to be my therapist. Only my therapist is equipped to be my therapist. In all seriousness, though, I lost a lot of friends by constantly dumping all my emotional baggage on their shoulders, and I thought they were the problem, not me. I try to imagine myself in their shoes, and it's hard to imagine I'd tolerate someone else's problems on top of my own. It's a simple case of think of how you'd feel, but it took a long time and at least 9 months of weekly therapy to realize that I was in butthole. I try hard to treat people better now. Everyone has difficulty in their life, and I'm understanding better that folks aren't being twats by distancing themselves from me. They're just looking out for their own well-being, as they absolutely should. LOL, realize that I was in butthole, then there's me. Whoa, I'm in butthole. I knew. That everyone mainly cares about and focuses on themselves, so that any embarrassment or failure you might experience is less of a big deal to everyone else than to yourself. So basically, you can relax more than you thought. People do really crappy things to you. They'd rather not, but they do them. They don't care that they did them, but they did what was most convenient for themselves. Most people don't know how to deal with death. I don't think anyone fully understands unless someone close to them has passed away. I took a little over a week off and went right back into medical school. You realize a lot of truths about yourself and those around you. I had people who reached out to me and still continue to check up on me, all of whom I appreciate dearly. I had people who made my dad's passing all about them, telling everyone a hysterical story about how upset they were and how they didn't want to reach out because they didn't want to bother me. Like no. The worst thing you could do is isolate someone who needs support. I had people who I thought were my good friends ignore me entirely, or who sent their regards and now ignore me like I'm cursed, or responded in a really callous manner, like oh sorry, now can I have the notes from class? I'm not sure what hurt me more, my dad's passing or these harsh realities. I'm not angry because they just don't understand. I get it, but going through all of this has changed the way I look at everyone else. None of this feels real, not even now. When my dad died, a lot of people would ask how my mom was doing. I thought that was sweet of them to ask about her. I wanted to scream, why isn't anyone asking me how I'm doing? Everybody is basically the same. Don't be shy because you're afraid that you might be different because there's millions just like you. The people who are hurting the most are often complaining the least, and someone who has very few problems is usually complaining to those people about some trivial thing. 1. Very few people have a well-developed sense of self-awareness. 2. Many people are coasting. 3. Most people don't have any hobbies, just TV and work. 4. Loads of flaky meh friends are not as good as fewer decent friends. 5. A bad attitude will leave you single, as will constantly comparing yourself to others, trying to force situations to be exactly how you imagined them, and so will a large superiority complex. Everybody is just flailing through life trying to get it together. Adults don't know how to coordinate their lives that well, and age has nothing to do with how smart or wise you are. I thought adults had all the answers when I was young. Yet, not really. They are just better at dealing with problems usually. I used to think old people were wise just because they'd been around for a really long time, but it turns out that old people still have the capacity to act like toddlers. Understanding this is super important, but treating it as an asset rather than a concern is arguably more important. Developing the discipline to fake it as hard as possible because it's often the best you can do is an important skill. That everyone has bad days and we all lose our cool from time to time. Everyone else is just as complex as you with families and their entire life's history. Sometimes, especially for those less fortunate, a $5 item might make their week. Don't tell co-workers about your private life. They start to act nice to get to know you but then will use everything you ever said to them to destroy you. Every person has 3 different personalities. How they act in public, how they act with friends and family, and how they act alone. Not everyone shares your values. I work in public education. You would think everyone in this business is in it for the kids. Anything that is best for kids would be prioritized. Nope. Most teachers have their hearts in the right place, and most administrators and support staff, too. But there are many, particularly in positions of power, who have motivations other than what's best for kids. That was a hard pill for me to swallow early in my career. Having a few relatives in the education system and growing up in a bad schooling system, I've learned that teachers are not this holy, blameless occupation full of saints. Heck, more than a few of the older teachers I had in school became teachers to dodge the draft or because they had no clue what to do with their lives, so they just went into teaching and regretted it every day since. Something very simple: no one is a villain in their own eyes. Sometimes it's hard to be empathetic to people you don't understand, but, for the most part, it's because you don't understand them. Yes, even awful people who commit atrocities see themselves in as the hero in the story of their own life. For a self-righteous young man, it gave me pause and opened up my mind to reason and social science in general. So many people are in a lot of pain. Every person that has treated me poorly has turned out to be a person that was dealing with things they couldn't handle on their own. And in the end, listening to them through their crappy behavior helps them be better and open up. It is hard to be patient, but I've learned it's worth it to try to be. People's personality is greatly affected by their environment. Even when adults, a lot of rude or negative people actually have problems such as physical issues, depression, and poor environment. Far more people have mental health problems than you think. That most people don't really care about others outside their own circle. If there was a choice for them or their close friend family member to get ahead, but for that to happen, they gotta frick a stranger over, they would most likely do it. I read this one on Reddit. We judge others by their actions, but but ourselves by our intentions. Simply one of the best quotes I have ever read on the internet. If you can offer people a sense of pride, money, or happiness, you can get along with just about anyone. Everyone wants to feel important in life. You as a stranger won't be who they want to impress, but if they can tell you a story and you listen and say something affirming, you gave them some pride. If you pay for a service and are respectful, you gave them a wage and some dignity. If you can joke and laugh with them or be a friend when they need, you gave them happiness. Pride and happiness are free, and it doesn't even take that much money for the third consideration. The crap being sold in infomercials, Snuggie, Minute Salad Maker, Miracle Socks, etc. isn't for the lazy, and is actually incredibly useful for those with various mobility, vision, and hearing disabilities. Everyone's life centers around themselves and branches out from there. Some folks send long branches, others not so much. No matter how you feel about someone, you should always realize that you are at least a short branch away from their center. You will never be so important to someone that this role will be reversed, so don't bother trying. All people are selfish. It's just biology. You are too. Took me forever to realize that my efforts to become somebody's center were in vain. I should have been putting out longer branches all along. That sometime you could be doing everything right in a situation, yet for some reason or another, things don't turn out like you want them to due to circumstance or even other people. That I'm not better or more capable than anybody else. I was always told that I was better growing up and being from a small town, and also being pretty good at learning a little of everything, and also being athletic. When I was young, it wasn't hard to be the best at a lot of stuff. It wasn't till around mid-high school and even up until 18 that I realized that other people, my age anyways, were just as capable as me, if not a lot better. Also in 10th grade I got my butt whooped real good by a kid pretty close to my size, cause I thought I was bad. That definitely helped put things into perspective. It took me having to walk away from a prescription that I needed to understand why people die of completely treatable conditions. I simply couldn't afford it. Medication is stupid expensive and people are dying just so a very small group of very rich people can get richer. I was raised with the saying sticks and stones and was always told no matter what anyone said, if you didn't like or agree with it, to just ignore and walk away. I'm now 30 and have realized that kids have more of a backbone than most adults, and a lot of adults are weak-minded. Everybody is somehow depressed. I always thought just a couple people have serious mental health issues, but eventually almost everyone has them. If somebody mispronounces a word, it's likely because they read it in a book or article rather than heard it on a TV show. Everyone has their own complex lives and way of thinking, reacting, and dealing. You never know what's going on in their head and their lives. I worked in customer service for a long time and learned the difference between someone who is just legitimately in butt and someone who is having a bad moment or day. I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, because you never know what's going on behind the scenes. Secondary, because of this basic understanding that everyone around you is doing their own thing, you realize people aren't judging you or really paying any attention to you most of the time. All of this makes it a lot easier to be kind, brush off a snappy customer, and mind your own business without being self-conscious. I know this, but I'm still trying to understand how to internalize it. But you are not the protagonist in anyone else's life. You aren't even a co-hero. You may play a temporary and possibly important part in someone else's story, but never the lead. Conversely, don't let anyone else take over your book. It's yours, and don't forget that. Everyone is going through something, good or bad, that you don't know about. Be nice to everyone and don't be so quick to judge. That as you get older you don't necessarily get smarter. I used to think that the older the person, the more they knew and the wiser they were. I couldn't have been more wrong. That when I was a kid, my parents were basically what I am now. You always think of your parents as, well, older people who are your parents who you trust and assume are basically on top of crap. I'm in my late 30s, have 2 little kids who I love more than anything, but there are times where I basically feel like just yesterday I was a kid myself, and I am trying to figure out how to be a good parent, how to not be bummed about my youth slipping away, trying to provide a nice life for them while not spending too much time at work as a result. I love them. I'm stressed out. At times I feel like I have no idea what I'm doing because despite my age it feels like it wasn't that long ago that I was a clueless 20-year-old just out to have fun, and now I'm supposed to be the guy who has it all figured out and to whom they can turn to solve their questions or problems. I don't know who said it, but I like the phrase, parents are just kids with kids. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.